Hello there and welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I'm Victor Matthias. Now, despite a Sokoto High Court ruling stopping the deployment of soldiers during the 2015 general elections, political parties and Nigerians have been debating on whether or not the action should be taken by the federal government. Just last Wednesday, the altercation between two parties snowballed into a major crisis on the floor of the House of Representatives, resulting in the members of the opposition staging a walkout in protest. Today we will be beaming our searchlight on the thoughts of Nigerians on this issue, but before we hear from them, let's take a look at the trending topics in the past week. Lagos, Abuja and Yaoundé all stood still as citizens defied Boko Haram and marched in support of Nigerian and Cameroonian troops who are fighting alongside regional neighbors to defeat the Islamist group. White and gold, black and blue. This was the controversy that trailed this dress that surfaced online and sparked countless office battles and split opinion throughout the world. The dress became the center of attention, courtesy of a simple optical illusion, and the only thing social media users were incapable of agreeing on was its actual color. Well, those were the trends. We begin this discussion, which you can be part of using the hashtag military and elections.
For me, there should be military, especially in the northern part of Nigeria. When I hear people talk about general election and they say there should be no military, I wonder if those people have ever lived in the northern part of Nigeria. I live in Kaduna, and we know what we experienced in 2011. In 2011, after the election, there was election crisis, violence in Kaduna, Kano, and some northern part of Nigeria, where we lost a lot of people. I wonder whether people have forgotten the number of coppers that died in Bauchi during the last 2011 election. For me, giving the police just a stick to go and protect people during election is not enough. For me, I subscribe to having military on ground. And not even that, I will subscribe to situation whereby in the northern part of Nigeria and some flashpoints in the south part of Nigeria, there should be curfew immediately after the election. This, and not only curfew, the military presence should be everywhere in town so that to reduce or to curb election violence. It's not about talking. Police alone cannot do it. They should have military backup.
I will agree with him in the sense that, democracy is for civilized minds. It's not for going into fighting and sponsoring guns to talks to disrupt election or after before. You see, if we are in democracy, we have to follow the rules of the games. And what are these rules? If you want to contest for election, it's all about selling your ideas, your ideology. If we have politicians who have ideology, we won't be talking about deploying military on the day of election, because what we have here now in Nigeria is people who are trying to get power by all means. Therefore, if they win, if they lost election, they have to sponsor talks to go and cause trouble all over the places. So I think for now in Nigeria, we are not due and ripe for true democracy. So therefore, the military have to come in to make everything go smoothly and peaceful.
In as much as we agree with my two previous speakers that the military is needed in this election, but one thing I would like us to know today is that the presence of the military during this election shows the flaws in our society. In the first instance, we all know the function of the military, most especially the army. Having them in this election is what I support, but it really shows the flaws that I have said. I believe that after the 2011 election or subsequent elections, the presence of the military should have been minimized. We only need their intelligence. But the police, I believe, should have learned from previous elections. And of course, they should know, okay, this is what we want. This is the way we want to go about it. They should have learned from situations from previous elections. So they should have gotten the technical know-how, adopted the manpower and the skills needed for the election. So for me, 2015 should just be the last time that we should allow the military to participate in our elections.
For we to have that peaceful atmosphere to conduct the election, we have to put security in place. And therefore, if our police is not well equipped to give us that security, that is why people are talking about the military to come in, so that there might be total peace and all that. Because so far, I believe even the government, they know that they don't really have a good trust in the police. So that is why everything you see in Nigeria, anywhere you go, you see the army everywhere. If the police is giving up that standard, I don't think we'll be even talking about bringing military in every corner of the country. But so far, our police is not keeping up to standard because of the way they are being trained. I don't know. Because I know that in some country, if you hear that police is coming, you have to run for your life because you don't want to have problem with some police in some part of the world. But in Nigeria, we don't even respect our policemen. So that is why the military is been going everywhere and trying to do the work of the policing.
Yes, I strongly agree with Sonny. You see, indicting the police or the military in this case, one thing I believe is that we have, if police is manning the elections, they could be compromised. So also the military, the army. An issue happened in Ekiti. How true it is, I don't know. But we could all hear the general begging about was almost crying. How true it is, I don't know. But you see, in cases like that, anybody could be compromised. What really matters, it is the integrity of our institutions. If we build good institutions, then we can actually solve that problem. Corrupt police, corrupt military could be taken out if we have good institutions.
I think the military should come out to clear his name and what is really going trending, or the Pizzagate stuff, where we could vividly perceive a military man doing some sort of a racketing with civilians. In fact, on media, we have seen that some of the actors involved actually accepted to have said some portions of things. And the truth is that if you know a little bit about media, you cannot detach a part of someone's voice from another. All those things were actually together. So if they had accepted a portion of this thing that was said, then it is, I can say about 95% that every other thing that were projected in that tape should be taken seriously and should be thoroughly investigated. Whether the man that leaked the video is around or not, I think is very, very important. The last speaker talked about building the institution. One thing that is very, very germane to the success of this election is using a card reader. I don't see how a country would want to build this institution when they have spent so much money and time and energy on putting the card reader in place so that the election process could be optimized. And some people somewhere would be saying, do not use this card reader, discard it and all that, even when INEC had come online on TV and television to show how this thing works. I think if this card reader is used, obviously, even if the military wants to do anything funny, or the police or whosoever, I want to believe that to a very reasonable extent, these things will be checked because there will be records after the election as to how many people actually got the accreditations done. So you need men to actually real surface on ground to do the rigging if the card readers are used.
Yes, I agree with what he said, what he has just said. Uh, but for me, you see, if the election has taken place on February 14th, we don't know. We are only insinuating or guessing or something like that. That okay, might have ended like this. But for me, postponing the election has been, let's say, good because so far the military has been able to record some uh, progress, good or success against Boko Haram. But let us take a look at this. At the moment, we can say that the fire is no more burning, but the charcoal is still hot. You know the coal. After every fire, you still have the coal. The coal is also hot, and that could cause some, at least, some degree of damage. That could actually do some degree of damage. Uh, I agree that with the way it's going, after that 6 weeks, I have the feeling that the northeastern part of the country will be safe enough for elections. But another part of the country, of course, it's quite good. I think the atmosphere for election is quite okay.
I actually want us to draw a boundary between bringing the military for the sake of uh, free and fair election, or for the sake of an election that is devoid of malpractice. No, that is not the real reason. The major reason is security. It's not that the police could be corrupted, the military could also be co-opted into malpractices. So we have to take note of that. Any of the institutions could be bribed to do one funny thing or the other. One major thing that will solve the problem of malpractice, what I've said before, is the issue of card that at least going to reduce it to a very reasonable extent.
I want to say that not only should we have the military presence, the army on ground during the election, I want to also add to it that there should be air surveillance during the forthcoming election. Now, this is democracy. We know that there should be freedom, but we are still growing, like one of us mentioned the other time. And I want to also add that there should be air surveillance in some flashpoints, in some areas where we have experienced pre-election violence in some states. You saw what happened in Okrika, and that is just a tips of what is going to come on March 28th and April 11th. And the reason why I am saying that military should be part of this is that we have seen cases like what happened in Okrika. We all saw it, and also in some states where we have already, even during the primary election in some political party, we saw what happened in some primary election. If the primary election, which is just within a political party, could be full of violence in so many locations, what will happen during the general election? Now, this election is very critical as far as in the history of Nigeria, because today we are having two major political parties. Since 1999, we are back to democracy. We have never had this like this. And that is one of the reasons why military, because if there is no military presence, yesterday, let me give you an example of what happened yesterday night. I closed very late from the office. I left my office around 11:55. On my way home, there are some checkpoints in Kaduna City that are being manned by police. In those checkpoints, people, as I was driving, people will not stay on the queue. But I want to tell you that those checkpoints that are being manned by military men, nobody dare do that. Everybody obey the law because they know that the military men are ahead of them. But in places, in fact, there was a point I got to, it's a police, like Adeola said, I think Adeola is the one that said it, talking about police can collect money. The policeman was asking me that, Oga, waiting day now, give your boy something, maybe we drink water. Now, that is what a police can do on the road. Now, the same thing, they can repeat the same thing during general election. But when we have the military, especially when people see them around or as backup, it will go a long way to help us. And it will reduce the number of people that will be negatively affected in the forthcoming election.
Well, you heard them right. That's what they think. We also see your thoughts coming in as well. But we'll be taking a break, and when we return, we'll be joined by Ayo Shogunro for more analysis. Don't go away.